Soldier coming today from the humble abode of my office. We get one out today. It's kind of wet and rainy here today. Wife and the son had to take the dogs to the vet. One of them got ear mites, and he got them bad. Got the house to myself, so I figured why not do a video. But what I want to talk to you about today has nothing to do with politics per se, but it does have to do with preparedness, given the direction our country's headed in. But it's also for you youngsters, you young whippersnappers that on these mobile devices that we use, that I'm afraid that if the satellites went out and your phone lost all power, you couldn't find your way out of your bedroom to the living room. Now, if you take offense to that, well, then just be offended, because I won't back up with what I said. And the reason I say that is so many of you young people are overly dependent on technology. Now, if you're the exception to the rule, so be it. But if the shoe fits, pay attention, boys and girls and boys of all ages. We're going to talk about navigation. That's a big word. I know that they don't teach in the schools anymore. And if I'm being condescending, oh well, get over it, be offended. I don't care. My point being is that the critical skills are not being taught in school like they ought to anymore. All right. Shoot, they're not even being taught in the Army anymore. I had to teach my son-in-law basic land navigation. Okay. Because the Army seems to think, give them a book, read about it, they're proficient. And that's not the case. Anybody that's ever served knows you have to have not just classroom training, but you need to have practical hands-on application and training. So I took him out on Fort Bragg, and we did a little one-day mini land nav course and map reading class. Showed him the basics of a compass. Showed him how to shoot an azimuth, how to read a map, how to convert grid azimuth into magnetic, or from grid north to magnetic north. Something I bet some of you kids didn't know about, that there's a difference. Okay? Because on a map there are grid lines, but in the world outside there's a magnetic field that affects the way a compass needle moves, and it's different in every part of the country. And most of your land navigation maps will have what's called a declination diagram that will tell you whether to add or subtract when converting from one to the other, and vice versa, because sometimes you've got to be able to convert magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth, and that applies to orienteering as well for those that like to orienteer. Okay, but what I'm going to cover is just some things you need to get and add to your kit right now. One of them I would recommend is this. Okay, it's Training Circular 3-25.26 or FM 3-25.26, which is map reading and land navigation from the Department of the Army. Okay? So, you get a chance, get that. Read it. Learn it. Some other things you're going to need in your navigating kit. Obviously, you're going to need a compass. Okay? Now, this is a Silva. The Silva is a civilian compass. Okay? That's not what they issue in the military. But I will tell you that Silva is one of the top rated companies out there when it comes to compasses. Okay? Now, this particular compass, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a diagram down here that's used for measuring distance on certain scales of map. One here, it looks like it's, I had it upside down, my apologies. This top one is 1/25,000. Next one is 1/24,000, followed by 1/50,000. Most military maps, not all, but most, will be 1/50,000. There will be many that are 1/25,000. But your civilian orienteering maps are mostly 1/24,000. The ones you can get from the USCG website store. Okay? Now, this particular compass is in degrees only. All right? And the compass has 360 degrees. Now, military compasses also use mils, which go up to 6,400 mils. In this particular Silva compass, the neck strap also has a distance measuring scale on the strap. So when you find the right scale map that you're using, like for instance, this one here is 1/24,000, I can lay that on the map and measure straight line distance. Okay. And that way I have an approximate idea of how far that I have to go or have gone. All right, now I'm really going to confuse some of you boys and girls with this next one, but this is called a protractor. And it's not like the protractor you got in school that, looks like a funny little half circle deal, but nonetheless, it's still a protractor. Okay. All right. And if you get this little kit too off of Amazon, comes with a nice little magnifier, but also comes with another protractor. Okay. What are protractors used for? They're used to determine grid coordinates or coordinates on a map. All right. It helps you accurately pinpoint your location on the ground. No, we're not going to get into read the map because I don't have the necessary cameras and technical capacity for all that here, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. Another thing you'll need is pace count. What do you mean? All right. So every 100 meters I walk, I pull one down. 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. Then I come to the top. When I complete 1,000, that's 1 kilometer. And then I reset. And when I get all done again, I come down to the next one. So I can measure up to 4 kilometers with this right here. Oh, by the way, did you know your dog tag chains, if you're military, you got dog tags, you can use this to measure distance on a map. Okay. You could use it as a field expedient pace if you can remember where your fingers are when you're counting them. There's a multitude of ways you can use that. But I wanted to show you that as well. All right. Universal Transverse Mercator Map Coordinate System. Most of your civilian maps are going to be on a UTM and not the military grid system. But it's a very similar concept, okay? So you might want to think about picking that up. You get all that on Amazon. Now this particular map I'm about to show you, it's actually a military map. This is a map of Fort Bragg. Why Fort Bragg? Because I live near Fort Bragg and have for years. All right, let's see if I can. Down here in the bottom, you got your scales that measure distance, okay? Everything you need to know about a map is going to be down here in this lower information, this legend as they call it. You got a section on symbols, okay? How to identify roads and bodies of waters, etc. All right, same thing over here. There's that, what I was telling you, that declination diagram. It tells you whether to add, subtract, whatever the case may be, to convert magnetic to grid and grid to magnetic. But it also gives you an arrow showing true north. All right. This right here tells you what sheets adjoin and what map sheet you're actually on. Okay. More information over here. Okay. And my apologies, this one actually shows the adjacent sheets. Okay. This one right here, back to that, shows you where the 0, 0 line is for your area, your geographic area. And so if there's a 0, 0 line midway through the map, there's going to be a certain set of coordinates below and a certain set of coordinates above. It's very important to know that so you don't give a friendly aircraft or a friendly group of people that's trying to find you the wrong grid coordinate because you were too far north of a 0, 0 line or too far south, whatever the case may be. All right. And this is a 1/50,000 scale map. And basically, with it, 1 inch by 1 inch square is the equivalent of 1 kilometer. Okay. All right. The equivalent of 1 kilometer. Now I'm going to show you another map that I ordered from the U.S. Survey Department for my area. Now that's another thing. You can go on the USCG website, right? And you can order these, okay? You can order these. Now this doesn't have all the fancy grid lines like a military map, but I can still use this to navigate. I can still use this to plot because it gives me the coordinates on the side and on the top, all right? The northings and the eastings, as they call them, all right? So I can still plot and find points on a map and navigate just because I don't have grids on there, okay? Now, this particular one is of Fayetteville. I've got enough map sheets for my area that I can build myself an operational map wall, and then I can start building overlays. What's an overlay? Overlays are usually a clear sheet of paper or plastic that you can put over a map to plot and put things on, identify certain things that are not actually on the map at the time, like positions of other friendly people, whatever the case may be you're doing, okay? Or in the case like this little case, I can put a map in here and I can use this plastic as an overlay. What you want to use is either grease pencils, or what I'd recommend is the Lumiscent non-permanent markers. You can use the permanent ones as long as you got an alcohol pen to erase with. All right. Those are important. Now, for longer travel, I've told you all about these before, get these Atlas Gazetteers, or Gazetteers, I can't pronounce it today, by Delorme, or I said it. Forgive me. Delorme. What's what we'll call it. All right. This one's for South Carolina. All right. And you go on the back, it shows you what page to go to. And you can look up a certain area. And again, when you turn on to it, right, now this has grid squares in it, okay? But it also has the coordinates in the corners and on the corresponding grid lines. That way you can still use that type of grid system to find what you're looking for in here, okay? These are extremely handy because they are detailed, they're extremely accurate, they have a plethora of information, and if you're going to be doing any traveling, these are just as good, if not better, than the old-fashioned American Road Atlas. And for all you young kids, this was our GPS, okay? And some of my older viewers, you used to drive into town. If you didn't know where you went to a local gas station and you bought a map of the town that you were in if you're going to be there any length of time, if you didn't know where anything was at. Why? Because you need to find how to get places. Now, the first rule of navigation is find out where you're at. Know where you're at. If you can find out where you're at, you can make sure you know where you're going. Okay? There's a multitude of ways that you can do that. If you don't know where you're at, but you can look at a map and see two known points, say a bridge and a mountaintop. Okay, well, the bridge is over there to the north. This mountaintop is over to the west. If I draw a line back to me from both those locations using an azimuth, shoot an azimuth to each, and then reverse azimuth those lines back to you where that line crosses on the map, is a good chance when the plus or minus 50 meters of where you're at on the ground. All right, that's the other thing. Get used to using the metric system when you're navigating with these maps, people. Okay? You know, I know here in America we love to use miles, yards, feet, but when you're using a lot of these maps, get used to using the metric system. Get used to counting in kilometers, okay? It's easier to walk a kilometer than it is a mile and keep an accurate measurement of that distance. Just putting it out there so you know. And finally, I'm going to close with this. You can see I'm wearing my grumpy old vet shirt today. My best friend had his treatment yesterday. He's got to go in for another one today. Apparently, that's going to be the norm for him now, is Wednesday and Thursday. Keep him in your prayers. They had to switch him to a new chemo medication today or yesterday. So just ask you to pray for my best friend that he gets better and that this treatment will kick cancer in its ass. All right. With all that said and done, folks, God bless. Take care. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Stay armed. Keep your eyes open, neck to the ground, or head to the ground, or ear to the ground. I can't talk today. And your neck on a swivel. Stay safe out there, my friends. And always, like I said before, stay armed, because the world's a crazy place these days. Until I get another one out, God bless. Take care. See you, old soldier out.